right, would you like to mount some newer plastics onto your older CRF? This is a 2002 CRF450 that I mounted plastics onto, more modern OEM plastics. So I made 5 brackets, the mounts on either side of the radiators, one on the gas tank, the airbox back here for the number plate. So have a look at the video and I'll show you how to do that. All right, well, I'm going to lead you through the process of what I did here to cut these brackets just out of sheet metal that I purchased at Lowe's. You're going to want to find or make some templates. I'll show the templates that I used later on in this video. And there's the final gas tank mount, but I'm just going to show you what I did to make these. So again, you want to mount a cutting wheel onto your hand grinder. And you can get those wheels from Lowe's. This is just a DeWalt cutting wheel, 4-inch wheel that I mounted on there. And you'll want to cut the template out of the metal. It's pretty simple. This is how I did it. And you'll just want to go around and make a template, make the lines, and I'll show you how to make the templates. But it's pretty simple. Just cut through the metal. Take your time, go slow, and clean the edges off so that there's no sharp edges because the metal's pretty thin. This is some of the welding that I did on one of the brackets here. So I used 2017 OEM plastics, and those work pretty well because they have a tab that comes up over the top of the gas tank, and this mount works really well to kind of hold that plastic on right there right under the seat on top of the gas tank. So I just did some welding here. If you can't weld, you can drill a hole and just put one of these studs up through there, just a female piece of that you could screw a mounting bolt into. All right, so these are the templates when I cut them, all 3, the right and the left. And the right has a different shape from the left. That middle bracket is the right bracket that mounts on the pipe side, and then that's the beginning of the gas tank bracket at the top before I welded the studs on. All right, this is just another shot here of the brackets, the right and left brackets, okay, and the gas tank bracket. This is the right bracket that I'm putting in the vise and just about ready to drill the holes into. So you can see there I hadn't drilled the holes. Here I have. So here I have drilled the holes out of the templates that I made, and so every year of CRF, older CRF, whether it's an 02 through an 08 or whatever model you're working with, you can make these fit your particular model because all the models are a little bit different. But you're going to want to line these holes up with your subframe and the mounts on your frame, okay? And then the mounts on the plastics. So cut all of your templates, and I'll show you how I cut these specifically for this 2002. But that's how I cut my holes and then drilled my holes. I drilled them with a press, actually. But this is the right mount. It's a little different than the left mount. But again, the 2 upper holes, mount the plastics on there, line them up with the plastics, and drill all your holes. It's pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. So cut the metal out with a cutting tool and drill those holes where they need to be. This is how I mounted those to stay out of the way of the exhaust. This is the radiator mount that tucks in up under that plastic there, and I put some graphite, just some well, it's a carbon fiber sticker to kind of protect them, but I painted them underneath as well. All right, well, I made some really crude blueprints here of some measurements, and you can see the one end of this radiator mount, I believe it's 15 centimeters. The top side was 31.5 centimeters, and the other is 26 centimeters. So just measure those out and make sure, again, that this is the radiator mount, that your brackets match the holes on your plastics. And this radiator mount really helps to obviously brace the radiators. Again, I put some carbon fiber covering over the mount, but here's the holes that I made and the studs that I put in the holes. So you just bend the bottom out so that the front of the plastic bottom hole on the front mounts in the bottom. Now this is the gas tank mount, and the measurements 10 centimeters by 12 across the top, and then 5 across the bottom, and then a hole for the bolt that goes onto the gas tank. And then you'll want to figure out a way to fasten these mounts on there. Now I actually welded some studs that come in your plastics kit, or if you buy a bolt kit, you'll get some female kind of like a nut that is a fastener, and I just welded those onto this. And if you can't weld, drill a hole and put that through there, or put the end of the bolt through there, and you can mount them that way. So you can basically run the bolt through the bottom and put a nut on the top, or just figure out a way to do that if you drill a hole. This is actually a diagram of the final right mount that I made. 19 centimeters across the top between the cuts, 30 centimeters across the bottom. So these are just kind of the specific measurements: 4 centimeters on the lobe on the top, and then 12 centimeters down the front. Anyway, this is kind of how I cut them and where I drilled the holes. Just cut the metal so that it goes around, anything like the exhaust pipe or anything like that, and then drill your holes accordingly so that you can mount your plastics. It's all self-explanatory. 12 centimeters across the front. This is the other mount on, I believe it's the left-hand side. And I actually had to make these a couple of times, but I think then we're 30 centimeters across the bottom, 18 centimeters between the lobes on the top. And anyway, you can make up your own brackets, but this is kind of how I did it. It's pretty crude and rough drawings and diagrams, but this is kind of what I came up with and how I cut the metal. Again, you're going to want to take and make sure there's no sharp edges, and just kind of clean the ends off. It's bare metal, so you're going to want to probably put some primer onto that bare metal, clean it off, clean any rust off of there, and then you're going to also want to, I covered it with this carbon fiber just for aesthetic appeal, but you're probably going to want to just protect it somehow. Primer and paint will work just as well. You're just going to want to protect those brackets from rusting, but also give it an aesthetic appeal. So this is the finished product, what it looked like, and I've since done some remounting with the pipe. I didn't like that. It was a more affordable kind of an Akrapovic imitation pipe, but it works actually really well. The bike runs really good with it. If you're looking for an affordable way to mount a new exhaust system on there, I could probably do another video on that. But this is it. This is the finished product. Turned out pretty well. So I'm pleased with how this project turned out. This was a build where I started with the engine and rebuilt the engine and built the entire bike around the engine. So all of the parts I basically got off of eBay and from various sources, and reconditioned them and rebuilt this bike completely. I went all the way through the suspension, all the way through the engine. I probably got over $5,000 into this bike, and there's probably no way I'll get it back out. But this was a fun project. It turned out pretty well, and hope this helped you in mounting plastics on your older CRF. Contact me at SoCal.hondabuild. SoCal.hondabuild.com at gmail.com for more information.